afternoon. We're going to call this meeting to order. I believe we have an agenda that was emailed out regarding the special call meeting. Madam Clerk, you're recognized to read our agenda items.
Okay.
Thank you.
First item on the agenda is a motion to adopt the proposed 2021 millage rate resolution.
Chair recognizes Finance Director Williams.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. Before you is the schedule of proposed millage rates that was put before you on August the 3rd. We have completed the required advertisement. We have held the 3 required public hearings, and a proper motion at this time would be to adopt these mill rates for the various taxing districts and to authorize Mr. Stephen Kendrick to use those to compute the tax bills. Once there's still an approval process for the digest, they have to go to the Department of Revenue to get this finally approved, but this would be the last action that this body would need to take.
All right, before we do that, I'm going to recognize the Mayor Pro Tem for that motion, but I'll recognize Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Just want to make sure that Ms. Williams is allowed to read the millage rates into the record. So,
Yes.
Okay. The net millage rates for County General Fund M&O is 9.045. For the Urban Service District, net M&O 4.845. The Capital Outlay Fund 0.722. Fire Protection 1.967. And for the Blythe Fire District M&O 3.299.
Chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Voting.
that motion carries 7-1, with Mr. Franum voting no, Mr. Sias and Mr. Garrett out.
Item 2, Madam Clerk.
Item 2 is a motion to approve the administrator's proposed framework for administering the Augusta Rescue Plan funded by the Federal American Rescue Plan. The request includes pre-authorization to implement revenue recovery, public safety, includes coroner and staff, and premium pay provisions within the law to provide for one-time pay supplements for public safety, one-time salary adjustments of up to $15 per hour minimum, and 2% increase to address compression with funding from the ARP of approximately $6.6 million in fiscal year 21 and $5.6 million in fiscal year 22. Pending the issuance and concurrence of allowable expenditures with the ARP final rules by the U.S. Treasury Department. Additionally, up to $1.5 million shall be allocated for vaccination incentives. Vaccinations for up to 10,000 with $100 per person for dosage, and $500,000 for administrative support services through partnerships with public service providers, potential locations for city partners to provide outreach for education and vaccinations, and other reasonable activities and expenses for vaccine incentive implementation.
Chair recognizes the administrator.
All righty, well, good afternoon.
Mr. Mayor, got a couple of commissioners want to call in. Go ahead.
Okay. Chair recognizes the parliamentarian regarding call-ins.
Yes,
Would you turn your microphone on, please, sir? All right, Chair recognizes the Commissioner from the 6th. You have someone who wants to call in?
Yes, Commissioner Brandon Garrett, as well as Commissioner Sias.
Okay. Chair recognizes the parliamentarian to speak to the matter.
The rules regarding call-ins is that the maximum number, the rulings regarding Open Meetings Acts, OCGA 50-14-1 provides that commissioners may participate, or elected official may participate in a meeting telephonically 2 times per year. The conditions in the absence of a medical emergency or a medical disability as certified by a doctor, you only can participate 2 times per year. If in the absence of that medical condition of the member of the body, then a person can participate those 2 times, but they must be outside of the county in this instance in order to participate. You must be outside of the jurisdiction. You cannot be in Richmond County as a commissioner and participate in a telephonic meeting when the meeting is announced and publicized as being physically held.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Mr. Garrett can participate if he has not participated 2 times in this calendar year and if he is outside of Richmond County. If he is within Richmond County, he is not qualified. He can, it will be a violation of open meetings if he participates inside of Richmond County. This is not Augusta rule. This is a rule that's governed by state law, and the county does not have authority to make a rule contrary to this.
Well, what about Commissioner Sias? You mentioned Commissioner Sias. What's the problem with that?
It would be, you would need to inquire of the, I am aware of one instance 2 days ago where he participated telephonically, which was permitted. You would need now to inquire of your clerk to search the records to see if he has participated any other time in this calendar year. If he has participated twice in this calendar year, he would be disqualified from participating again telephonically during this calendar year.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'll do a follow-up with that. Do you, when you said a meeting, we had our EMS meeting, I think many of us was there, he participated telephonically, so that will count as one of those terms as well, correct?
The Open Meetings Act do not distinguish between what meeting that a person attends as long as it's a meeting of the agency, and the agency is defined on the open records as a city or a county or any political subdivision. So if that meeting was a meeting authorized and sanctioned up under this government, it would be counted as a meeting that he has attended. I don't know if he has participated in another meeting, been absent and participated telephonically other than once, but if he has done so twice this year, he would not be qualified to do so again.
Well, I can vouch for the other one then, sure, because I was the chairman of that. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Question?
Anyone else?
So, Mr. Garrett, in out of town, Burke County?
I have no idea.
He's in Burke County?
I have no idea where he is. This is new information for me. I'm receiving this at the same time that you all are. No one has called me.
It says he has family members that are sick.
I understand. All right, Chair recognizes a commissioner from the 7th.
Question for the attorney, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't mean to go back, but I'm just asking for clarification. Since there was votes on Tuesday and we don't know whether they were in Richmond County or not, does any of those votes not valid now, or does that not matter now? I guess my question.
Yes, sir. Could you name who you're referring to?
Well, you had Commissioner Sias on the phone on Tuesday, and he voted in multiple things, and I guess I'm just asking, is it? The same rule was explained, in my understanding, according to the information provided to the clerk, that he was outside of the county, Okay.
as well as Commissioner Johnson, who is here, and I guess the board, the chairman, if the chairman wishes, could inquire of Commissioner Johnson, if the chair so wish to do so,
Okay.
or fellow commissioners.
Okay, my reason is for, to the item. Are we gonna still, we moving forward with the item?
What item are you referring to, Commissioner?
The one on the screen? That was what I.
Okay. And your question for the chair is,
Are we moving forward so I can ask my questions around this item, or what are we doing?
well, right now, our posture is we were trying to get clarity on
Okay.
the ability of individuals to participate in said meeting telephonically or some manner other than being in person. I believe the parliamentarian has ruled on that, and if there are no other questions related to that, then we'll move forward with Administrator Donald sharing what he has provided us regarding this. All right, there being no other questions, Administrator Donald, okay, everyone just pause. Chair recognizes Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. And this is in response to a question Commissioner Franham had, or a statement he made relative to the attendance of Commissioner Sias and Jordan Johnson on Tuesday. For the record, Commissioner Johnson did indicate to me that he was out of state. Commissioner Sias, however, did not identify to me if he was in jurisdiction or out of jurisdiction. So I just want to clarify that for the record. And neither did I ask. I didn't ask Commissioner Johnson, and he told me. So just for the record, we just need that clarification noted.
Thank you. Are there any other questions related to this matter? Chair recognizes Attorney Brown.
In the instance, if it comes to light that Commissioner Sias was traveling but not outside of the county, then if he voted during that period of time, that vote would be nullified because he would not have been in attendance. If I recall correctly, I do not believe there was a decision made during on the matters of which that was voted upon. Therefore, it would not be an action to be reversed. However, it is important, and it is not new, it is well established. The Commission has previously been advised through the former General Counsel of these requirements. If you are going to vote telephonically, and if it is a physical meeting, you must be outside of the county unless there's a health reason that must be certified in writing by a doctor.
Are there any questions related to this matter?
Mr. Mayor, let me go ahead and clear it so that maybe the commission can move on with a sense of peace about this matter. There was another issue that arose that I made a ruling on Tuesday regarding calling in, being off the phone, and calling back in within one meeting. My ruling was that the privileges of a person who participates in a meeting telephonically are the same as those who are physically present. I have done that research, and that is supported by the Open Meetings Act. The Open Meetings Act only in one place ever defines what participation telephonically means, and it is clearly stated that a member who is participating in a physical meeting by teleconference have the same rights and privileges as the members who are participating physically. So I'm reconfirming the ruling that was made Tuesday. So if a commissioner calls in and you get cut off, you're traveling, you're disconnected, you hang up, you can come back into a meeting as long as that meeting has not been adjourned. If that meeting has been adjourned and the commission decides to come back in session, your meeting is over. If you call in after it has been adjourned, if it's reconvened, then you are entering a second meeting. But as long as the meeting has not been adjourned, a commissioner can call in, go off the phone, leave the meeting, and come back into the meeting. Just as a commission who sits on a dais can leave this meeting, go to another meeting, and come back in and vote.
All right, Chair recognizes the commissioner from the 9th.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, may I ask the attorney a question?
Please do.
Mr. Attorney, when you said medical emergency, is it for the commissioner or could it be a family member as well with documentation?
The Open Meetings Act only addresses the health of the member. It does not exclude other possibilities, but all we can know, according to the directive, it is the member's health that makes the member physically unable to attend the meeting, and the doctor certifies it. That is since the Open Meetings Act does not address exactly what you said, we have to take it for what it says.
Thank you, parliamentarian. I believe we are ready to proceed. Chair recognizes Administrator Donald.
All righty, well, good afternoon, Honorable Mayor and Commission. For this item, since we had quite a bit of conversation related to the last meeting, just put together a quick document to ensure that the areas for which you were most concerned were addressed. And so I think we have addressed that in the motion, but I've also provided a brief memorandum that breaks that information down. I'll quickly go over those things, and there is one area to provide some clarity because it's just copied and pasted out of one of our charts. While it likely would not cause you any heartburn, we definitely want to make sure for the public we have any clarifications. So the first thing is all of this information is based off of the extremely detailed presentation that we did on July 21st, which broke down the three-pronged framework that we are proposing to implement the Augusta Rescue Plan. Again, high level, take care of your home first with internal priorities and initiatives, government to government, et cetera, et cetera. The second pronged approach is to release funds into the community that are focused on the areas allowable under the American Rescue Plan. And then the third prong of that is to have allocations for which the final say could be coordinated via the commission for specific projects. Under that, the commission identified two areas that are extremely important and should be made priority, and that is public safety and welfare, ensuring that our frontline workers who are delivering services in the midst of this public health emergency are appropriately incentivized and compensated. And then secondly, ensuring that the vaccination status of our community increases from the low rates that we have seen early on. As such, with the framework not being in question, but the information that has been focused on the Vax Up Augusta campaign and details around public safety pay, included a detailed memorandum. I'll just highlight that the keys of it is that those who become fully vaccinated as defined currently and or in the future will receive a $100 incentive once vaccinations are complete and an affirmative vote by the commission has been had. That is the period of performance and the allowable time frame. As such, if you were to have an affirmative vote today, then the eligibility period starts today, and once we roll out the program, those who have become fully vaccinated today and beyond would be eligible. Second piece of that, that where most of the conversation came in was around the $500,000 allocated to implementation. It is basically based on quick math, also best practices and agreements that are already in place. I think I highlighted and spoke mostly about the the Athens Clarke County model, in which they, like we are proposing, would partner with health entities. The best example is the Department of Health, who we are both in speedy negotiations with to be able to implement this program, where it would be $50 for for an administrative fee. There was some confusion previously where people saw the word salary, space, etc. and there was questions around whether that is the city of Augusta hiring people or doing any of that. That is absolutely not the case. That $50 administrative fee, we listed those items because if using the Department of Health as an example, they have to have an allowable list of costs for which they would be able to assign those fees for. So you could imagine their folks are going to be working overtime. They're going to have additional space that they'll need, materials, et cetera, et cetera. So all of those allowable costs need to be able to be reimbursed through that one-time $50 fee from us. As such, the motion has been changed to specify that it is an administrative fee, but we want to make sure our documentation for when we submit this stuff to the U.S. Treasury, for which we will all be audited around the country, is clear that those were allowable costs. And so I think that should resolve any issues from the commission there. In addition to that, the second question or broad question was around public safety and premium pay and those provisions. And so while we are asking for pre-authorization, because again, this is based on the allowability of the law. Unlike vaccinations, how we administer public safety pay and premium pay is not as clear in the law as the vaccination incentive and public health are. And so we are asking for that pre-authorization. In addition to that, we have broken down how we would be able to deliver those payments and what the cost is for the Augusta, Georgia government. What you will see in the breakdown is that those costs increase slightly. So if you were willing to approve this proposal, I think we listed the 5.6 and the 6.6. As you'll see, it goes up to 6.650, 451, and then the 5.6 goes up to 5.683, 101. Those are the costs once we include the coroner and shore up those numbers as requested by the commission on Tuesday. There is one other area that I just wanted to highlight. On page 2 at the very bottom, it says with code enforcement from July proposal and coroner added at the 2,500, which is the same as public safety. It reads clear to me, but I just want to make sure that you are clear that code enforcement is listed already in the proposal, so they would not be added at 2,500 per, and that is not their one-time payment, but the coroner is. And just wanted to make sure we clarify that so there's no confusion. Based on the grammatic rules, it's clear, but we just wanted to make sure there was no confusion on that. So it just includes code enforcement. As you might imagine, we played with a ton of scenarios to figure it out, and so that's just the delineation internally for staff. Finally, to make sure we're crystal clear, you will see that the impacted employees, there is a chart at the end that just breaks down, so you will see that everyone that you desired is included in those broad categories. And the asterisk is basically to highlight that those are not swarm, and so they get the part-time, the same as the part-time officers under those constitutional and elected officials' offices. So I think we have resolved each and every one of the concerns that were identified by the mayor and commission on Tuesday, and as such, that ends my presentation to the commission.
Thank you, Administrator Donald. Chair recognizes the commissioner from the 7th, and then I'll go to the 10th.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Administrator Don, I appreciate your documentation here, and I more appreciate the conversation we had today of 20, 30 minutes about this issue. As you talked about the percentage of people in Richmond County that got the first shot but hadn't got the second, and how this would hopefully, push the needle over on some of them to get the second shot. My question is, we talked about the weekly DPH feedback of how things are going, to you, and then you talked about every month we get kind of like an audited number, that kind of thing. If in 90 days we see that hadn't been effective, and I'm talking about the $100 piece of the gift, can we pivot as a government, or are we locking in? I mean, we talked about the 6 months time frame that you had mentioned. Can we pivot in 90 days if we see that this is not being effective?
I think you could. I think you can pivot at any time that you want, and what factors you determine. I think if you ask, of course, we would make a recommendation, or if there's the will of the commission to evaluate and pivot, yes, sir, you could. Not on whether it be 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, or in 6 months. At any time, this is just your allocation, the same way you would with your annual budget. If you wanted to adjust the budget and do a budget amendment and change direction, you can do so with these funds as well. It simply means that we have to document it and update our reporting and information that we provide to the Treasury.
Okay. I understand that, like, once the vote is taking place, it was to pass today, like, things would go implemented into place with the gift card piece. From our standpoint as a city and Vax Augusta, whatever the campaign is, what is the time frame do you think it would take for implementation of something, you know?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So we actually have another, I think I told you, we spoke to the Department of Public Health today. We have another conversation with them, as they would be the primary holder of information and our primary partner. We would be bringing back a memorandum of understanding. We're kind of lockstep with our partners in Athens, and we'll be presenting them the draft this week, and then they would be giving us feedback, hopefully bringing it back before the commission in another week or so that you can implement the MOU unless you provide some sort of emergency authorization today. After that, we would then provide the funding to the Department of Health, and they would be responsible as our intermediary. So I would think no more than about 3 weeks is about the time frame. But those those citizens interested in vaccination, once you raise your hand into the affirmative, they would be eligible today. So we want them to go ahead and get their shots, and we will publicly be releasing information on how they can access their incentive.
And the last, I guess, comment, or just for clarity, is that DPH would handle the handing out of the gift cards.
Yes, sir.
Handle there's forms, there's process, there's accountability there.
That's right.
If those people do get that second shot after they get the second shot.
Yes, sir. And if you don't mind, can I speak on
Sure.
that just quickly? So that's very important, and the reason we would be utilizing an intermediary like that. Remember, we don't have the capacity to deliver any of those health services, but based on these federal funds, you know, if it's not documented, it didn't happen. And so what DPH would be providing is the affidavit that has to be completed by every Richmond County resident. They also have the system that tracks the vaccinations, as well as tracking the actual acceptance of the gift card. And so that documentation meets the letter of the law for U.S. Treasury. And so as our intermediary or other intermediaries, I think we talked about, I listed the others in here that we have agreements with. Although we are moving quickly to partner with all of those medical entities, they would all have the same requirements. But yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, sir.
Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 10th.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to publicly state again, I want everybody in this city to be vaccinated, and I want everybody in this city to be protected against COVID-19 and the variant. Just because some people share different opinions, I love the way the blame game and the shame game goes into effect. That's sad. I think it's also sad that when you have to tempt people to save their life, to offer them a mere $100 to save their life. That's kind of placing a low threshold of life. Once again, I want everybody to be vaccinated. Commissioner McKnight and I sponsored vaccine clinics that were very successful. We'll do that again. I don't like the way that this item is frameworked. You vote for all of it, or you vote for none of it. I want the raises to go into effect. I want our public safety people to be taken care of. I am ready to vote on that. But if we cannot take these items as an individual item and vote on it individually, I have to vote and maintain no. That's all I got to say, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, sir, just a comment, Mr. Administrator, and to Mr. Frana. He did say something about maybe pivoting in about 90 days or what have you, but I think if we do that, we need to find out what we're going to decide is success. 20%, 30%, 10% of folks, get a shot of those vaccinated or unvaccinated. So I agree with it. I just think that we need to decide what's success. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to just add, I heard the administrator mention in his presentation just now, if I'm correct, Mr. Administrator, I'm correct enough to say anything, but if I'm not correct, but Mr. Mayor, let him address it. I think you said you need authorization, you're gonna meet with DPH, and then you get an MOU, and then we may have an emergency meeting. And if that's correct, Mr. Mayor, I'd like this body to also include in this motion here to allow, once the MOU is drafted, it's to send us out a copy. We, and the attorney, whatever, to look at it, and we go ahead on and approve this without actually having to convene. I think 3 weeks is just too long for us to have to wait and come back and approve this to get started. We want to expedite the process, and whatever that looks like, give them authorization, Mr. Mayor, for yourself, the attorney, and the administrator to go ahead and get this done. I'd like to add that to this motion.
Chair recognizes the Administrator.
Yeah, I would recommend if you do that, it would be for the mayor to execute under legal's advisement. Again, we have a draft that is being utilized by the Consolidated Government of Athens, Clarke County, and DPH that we're working with them on. But I think you would need to allow the mayor to execute and allow legal to ensure that it meets legal sufficiency.
Yes, sir. That's my intent, but to go ahead, Mr. Mayor, not have to reconvene, and we do that, and if we can keep moving.
Chair recognizes the Commissioner from the 3rd.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, we're back here today with this item, which, like Commissioner from District 10 said, there's 3 parts in this item that are lumped together. And if I had to vote, I would like to support, I definitely would support this $15 per hour minimum, absolutely. But the first part, or now the second part of it, $100, I can't vote there. And these are entirely 2 different items lumped together as one. So it puts a few of us in a situation, for the citizens of Augusta to say, well, hey, why didn't you support it? Well, I wanted to support the $15 per hour, but yet I didn't want to support the other part. So it kind of puts us in a tough situation here. And I'd like to make a motion to separate these items, please.
Second.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a substitute motion to approve with that addition of what we just spoke about to this, about the MOU. My motion to approve.
Second.
All right, I've got a substitute motion with the appropriate amendment to adopt the caption item 2. Voting.
Yeah, we need you to vote. 1.
Yes, sir. No, sir.
Dennis.
That motion carries 6-2 with Ms. McKnight and Mr. Clark voting no, Mr. Garrett and Mr. Sias out.
Madam Clerk, I believe that's all the business before us today.
Yes, sir.
This meeting is adjourned.